219, signal indication at Jackknife. Have a safe trip.
Signal indication Jackknife.
It's just after midnight here in Atlanta, Georgia. I had just gotten off work with mere minutes to spare to witness a unique train. Norfolk Southern Train 219 is seen departing Inman Yard, starting its journey west to Wiley, Texas, with a hot intermodal train behind them. With hopes that a particular unit would be set to lead, everything was going according to plan. Kansas City Southern Railway's SD70 ACE number 4006 was repainted from its original gray scheme. Now the railroad's honoring our veterans unit, one of the first specially painted units in the railroad's engine fleet. I told myself that if this unit were to lead Train 219, I would chase it until I could see it in daylight, or until I couldn't handle it anymore. Witnessing the train here at CP Bridge, I knew I was in for a long night. And so the chase began along the Norfolk Southern system. Moving west from Atlanta, I ran into other rail fans who were also out late at night waiting to capture this special train. I set up here at Mableton as Train 219 picks up speed towards the junction to head due west at Austell. There will be portions in this video where I will leave the train in its entirety. Posted in the description below are chapter marks for this chase where you can skip to the next scene if you do not wish to watch the whole train multiple times. They'll move pretty fast at most locations. ran into my best bro Jariel Ely and snagged him along for the unexpected road trip. With nothing in the way of Train 219, we couldn't get ahead of them until we reached Douglasville along US Highway 78. Even though it was dark, we took the opportunity to pace the train with no traffic to worry about in the middle of the night. I was very grateful to have Jariel with me, as he was the man behind the camera while I was behind the wheel. Villa Rica has one of the best well-lit spots on the East End. This would be where we would shoot train 219 at next. You'll be seeing a lot of camera flashes in the background. More and more rail fans were all out for this thing. From Villa Rica, Jariel and I hopped on over to the Bremen interlocking, where the East End District crosses over the Cedartown District. I set up my video lights on the diamond as they approach the sleepy Georgia town. continue chasing them west across the east end as we fix to cross state lines right after this. At 0136 Central Standard Time, we now cross state lines into Alabama, finding our next spot to catch the 219. We set up along the curve at Heflin as we listen to them break the silence. Our next stop would be the Moore Street grade crossing in Oxford, Alabama. They're still moving at the maximum authorized speed. With our best bets not to take back roads in the middle of the night, we stuck with I-20 moving west as we took a big leap over to the town of Leeds. I didn't want to risk getting too far behind the train. It took them a little over an hour to get from Oxford to Leeds, which wasn't too bad. So we took a little breather before the 219 came knocking on the door. Their next place would be to swap crews at Irondale. They'll be hitting the AGS South District heading towards Meridian, Mississippi when we come back. As NS-219 was swapping crews in Irondale, Jariel and I went ahead for 32nd Street in Birmingham, where we found train 342 muscling across the ATN Diamond. The 342 runs via the 3B North District from Selma, Alabama, connecting up to Bessemer on the AGS South District. They run north on the AGS all the way to Norris Yard in Irondale. This would be the only other NS train we would come across as we continue with KCS 4006 westbound. It didn't take 219 long to make the crew swap. They were quickly back on the move as they proceed up the passenger main across the 32nd Street interlocking. Bessemer is a great place to catch trains at speed, and figured this would be a great spot to catch the 219, but they were moving pretty slow through here. They may have gone slow through Bessemer, but normally if you're chasing an intermodal train on the AGS, it can be a little tricky, especially to find places with enough lighting at night. But by the time we reached Tuscaloosa at 0545, the sun was starting to make itself known. We set up at the original Southern Railway station, now served by the Amtrak Crescent with 2 trains daily. Clear signals are lined for the 219 as they make some noise through Roll Tide country. I never thought I'd say that out loud before. From Tuscaloosa, there's not much access to the tracks from the highway. Using the map, following the AGS, we hopped back onto I-20 and I-59, moving west to the next easily accessible town at Boligee, Alabama. You can see the morning fog rising over the Alabama Gulf Coast Railroad, along with the original Southern Railway signals still guarding the interlocking. Boligee is a nice and peaceful little town. Most of the buildings were abandoned, but there's a nice little recreation area here. Within the hour after seeing 219 at Tuscaloosa, here they came once more, breaking the silence, now getting a good glimpse of KCS 4006 in broad daylight. We had to move fast as Jariel and I got ahead to Cuba, Alabama. They were wasting no time moving at the maximum authorized speed, passing through town at 55 miles an hour. Hot intermodal train continues southbound as we fix to cross into state number 3 when we come back. We made it into Mississippi, continuing west with the 219. They got up to 60 miles an hour as we were going down and around, eventually getting ahead of them just outside of Meridian. would be it for one railroad as we prepare to chase them on the next. The Norfolk Southern crew would take the train into Kansas City Southern's Meridian yard for the crew swap. We stopped with them as NS Train 219 became KCS Train IATDA. The KCS crew would take it west, continuing towards Jackson across the railroad's Meridian Speedway. While the crews were swapping out, Jariel and I took the opportunity to get some breakfast. We figured that Hardee's would be the best choice. They've got some awesome biscuits. After getting our grub for the road, we got a little bit of a head start as we scouted to find our first spot along the KCS Meridian subdivision. Pine Forest Road would be the place, located outside of Chunky, Mississippi. We had plenty of time to eat, and plenty of time to rest for a moment before KCS 4006 West was speeding on its way towards Jackson.
Total axle 394. Speed 54. Train is westbound. Detector out.
4006 westbound. 48.2 and a clear indication 4006 west.
Now, if you're chasing an intermodal train on the KCS Meridian Speedway, good luck. Your best bet is to take the interstate. We had to go from milepost 16 to milepost 49 before we could get ahead of them again. For the entire Meridian Speedway, the maximum track speed for intermodal trains is 59 miles an hour. Setting up in the city of Forest, Mississippi, this train was doing every bit of it. to our next spot outside of Pearl, Mississippi, KCS 4006 West speeds towards control point East Whitfield with barely seconds to spare for myself and Jariel to get set up. Tail reaches us once more. Listen as the crew gets their reading from the milepost 86.7 defect detector.
KCS detector, milepost 86.7. Proceed. KCS detector, milepost 86.7. Proceed. Total axle 394. Speed 44. Train is westbound. Detector out.
At 11:57 Central Standard Time, I had just enough energy to put in one last catch for KCS 4006. Here at Canadian National Railway's Switch Tender Junction, the KCS crew gets a signal from the CN dispatcher to cross over back onto their own trackage, continuing west towards Vicksburg, Mississippi. I wanted to chase them into Louisiana, but I think 13 hours with this train is good enough for me. Still question myself to this day as to why I decided to chase this train across 3 states, catching them 18 different times. Hey, it was so worth it, and I was very glad to have brought my best friend along with me. We may be done with KCS 4006, but don't go anywhere. There's more to see as soon as we come back. Now Now, since we were already out and about in Jackson, Jariel and I decided to stick around for a little bit to see what else was in the area. At 1302, we went south to Byram, Mississippi along CN's Macomb subdivision to catch Amtrak City of New Orleans Train 59 speeding over the milepost 738.3 defect detector.
Detector, mile 738.3. South bound, no defects. Temperature 75F. Total axles 32. Speed 73. Detector out.
No defect, Amtrak 126 south. Over.
Out.
I had to shut my eyes since I was running on almost 30 hours with no sleep. So we camped out at Switch Tender in Jackson, waking up at 1605 to NS 9646 West with train IZA-ILC. The engineer gave off a nice little horn show for us. IZAILC is a UP train, ZAILC, running from Atlanta all the way to Los Angeles. Although they were powered with all Norfolk Southern engines, they will be handed off to the UP once they reach Shreveport, Louisiana. Now, what I really woke up to was seeing a blue unit coming out of CN's Jackson yard. It was IC 2466, handling train Q194-9105, transferring to KCS's Jackson yard. IC 2466, a C40-8W, was originally built by the LMS, now marked by the old Illinois Central, but still in its original blue paint scheme. Rail fans like to call these engines the Blue Devil. It was my first time putting eyes on one of these old engines. There was no telling how long they would be around too. CN is the only Class 1 railroad that has Dash 8s still in service in 2020, including their standard cabs. They'll make a pickup from KCS and add on to their train before proceeding south for New Orleans. Jariel and I waited at Crystal Springs to see if that same power would come south. But by the time they came to us, we found out that they had swapped out the power. CN 2262 was now leading Q194, but had a very nice P5 horn to it, so I'm not complaining whatsoever. went back to Jackson to get one last look around to see what else was running. And we just so happened to barely miss KCS train IDAAT crossing over State Street in downtown. They'll be heading straight for Meridian to interchange with NS bound for Atlanta. It was time we hit the road heading back towards home. We ended up staying at a hotel overnight in Oxford, Alabama, and woke up the next morning meeting up with our friend Elijah Brown in Anniston. Back on Norfolk Southern rails, we got lucky to catch train 23D, an intermodal train out of Atlanta heading for Los Angeles. Thus ends probably one of the most craziest trips I have ever taken. It was great to see so many of my friends out there catching KCS 4006, and special thanks to Jariel for keeping me company. Make sure to drop a thumbs up by hitting that like button if you enjoyed today's video, and please hit the subscribe button if you are new to my channel, and enable that notification bell to be notified on all new content coming out. See y'all next time from Anniston, Alabama at milepost 733.6 along Norfolk Southern's East End District.